Okay.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thank you for your topic today. Talk about cleansing and cleansing. Yes, you mentioned about Tibet, so I can sympathize about that because me myself from Cambodia, you know, the situation in Cambodia is similar, right? But with me is I have a book called Three Verses Palestinian and Israel Children Speak, and recorded by the journalist named Deborah Ellis. And my question is not related to the politics or whoever in the power. Just I'm paying attention frankly to the children development. For example, I wrote the quote from here, from both children, both sides, Palestine and Israel. One said, I know there's a war going on, but I don't know why. I hear about bomb on the television, about bomb going off in shop, on the bus, and made me afraid. And the other one said, what are my three wishes? I want to be an artist, I want to dance, and I want to be old. So my question is about, what is your view about those children's future? Especially any support to maintain their mental health status, or at the same time help them cope with the ongoing conflict. So what is your view about those children?
Yeah.
Sorry, caught in the conflict.
Yeah. I think first of all it's important to mention, without going too deeply into hierarchy of suffering, one shouldn't, that there is still a big difference from what Palestinian children are going through and Israeli children are going through. Most Israeli children who want to be artists would be artists. Most Palestinian children who want to be artists will not be artists. Keep that in mind. I always hesitate when I hear these equality, even in children's faith. So I would differ there in this overwhelming comparisons. However, I do agree that children are very important. One of the things I'm very sorry to leave behind me in Israel, and I hope to come back and continue this, I was very much involved in desegregated education in Israel. I helped to establish joint kindergartens, schools, and so on. As you know, Israel has a segregated educational system. Arabs and Jews are not supposed to be together according to the Israeli educational system, so they have two different systems. And I thought that these initiatives were very good on two levels. One, in challenging the apartheid from above. And far more important, I think there were models for the future. It's very clear that if you put toddlers together, and nobody who comes from abroad would tell you who is an Israeli and who is a Palestinian. Education is highly important here. And the future of these children depends very much on their parents. But most parents, I think, are willing to entrust their children into the local educational systems. That in the case of the Israeli Jews, would make them soldiers in an army of occupation. In the case of the Palestinians under occupation, doesn't offer them much of a future unless they would be able to get out of that. So if, as human societies, we will be able to salvage education from the political elites, maybe we will create a different future for those children.
Hello. First of all, I got the impression that in your review of the history of the conflict, treated the Palestinians and more importantly the Arab League as basically passive participants in the whole story. You did not relate one single bit to the involvement of Arab states in the conflict. You never related to who fired first shot in the war, or in the 48 war for that matter. Also, for those of us who don't regularly surf the U.S. State Department website, what exactly is your definition of ethnic cleansing? Because for many people it's synonymous with genocide, and I don't believe that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think that I didn't mention the Arab states involved in 1948 because I think it wasn't that significant for the topic of tonight, which is the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. It is significant in other ways. In fact, it is part of the explanation for what happened in 1948, because the Arab leaders, and this hasn't changed, I think people would agree with me, talks a lot about Palestine, but does very little. And in 1948, one good example is the fact that the Egyptian parliament allowed the Egyptian army to participate in any kind of military operation against the Jewish state only on the 13th of May, 2 days before the end of the mandate, and only because of the public opinion in Egypt that was stirred by the massacre in Deir Yassin. The Jordanian army had a very limited role in this whole story because it had a prior agreement with the Jewish state that in return for annexing the West Bank to Jordan will limit its operation against the Jewish state. And in fact, had they agreed on the partition of Jerusalem, which they agreed anyway, all these Israeli soldiers and Jordanian soldiers who died in vain could have been saved. The only army that showed some interest in fighting on behalf of the Palestinians were the Iraqis and the Syrians, but their governments sent a very small contingent who didn't really matter much in the overall balance of power. As for their involvement in the beginning of the war, I think it's very important to understand that the day that the Arab armies entered Palestine, 15th of May, already half of the Palestinians are being expelled. So long before the Arab armies are there, the ethnic cleansing is half completed. And the reason that they are there is because they could not stand idle with ethnic cleansing operations going on in such a way that was reported everywhere in the Arab world. So, in a way, a more rigorous and a more committed Arab position might have left many Palestinians in their houses and in the land. As for your second comment, yes, it's true. I think that the theory of ethnic cleansing is very clear as distinct from genocide. Genocide is a crime against humanity of a different magnitude, with a different purpose. When you want to get rid of a population, you don't want to kill it. What happens, unfortunately, and that happened a lot in 1948, is when people resist the forced expulsion, massacres occur. In more than 33 cases, more than 30 cases, I'm sorry, and this occurred in Palestine. A few thousand Palestinians, we don't know the exact number, were killed in such a way. But the nature of the policy that Israel implemented in 1948 was not genocide. It was ethnic cleansing, which means systematic uprooting of the population.